Good afternoon, Jan.
Michael, that's a long time ago. I was first.
Ah, yes.
Usually you are first, and I'm late. But
Yeah, yeah. Just
it
trying to
was
trying to get some things set up, and I was like, oh, look, it's time. Okay, let's
uh,
go ahead and start it. If we need
it
to
was
continue getting set up, we'll do that on the stream.
it was only 2 seconds, but it was
Yeah.
first.
Yes.
It tells me
Yeah.
action needed. Update your username. No, that will be for later. Okay.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
Don't know why, but
Yeah. Discord. For the longest time, they had usernames that were the part that you chose, and then a hashtag, and then some random number that they chose.
mm,
And so they finally decided that the way that everybody else does social networking makes a lot of sense. Everybody chooses their own username.
okay. I switched off the fan now. I
Okay.
switched on the Klim, but also the Klim has a fan. You have any noise from
Nope.
that?
No
Okay.
noise at all.
Oh, that's better then. I just switch it on. I hope it will
Yeah.
cool down a bit. No, it was hot. Okay, I'm here once again as a blue. No, it was the last 2 weeks were running like crazy.
Hmm.
There is next week there is a big festival here, uh,
Nice.
two cities further. And as a volunteer, I'm part of an association who's doing the first aid on big festivals. Now, the thing is,
Fantastic.
the the one who's normally responsible for this for the first aid de secours on this event, he's abroad.
Hmm.
So okay, I'm the next one to organize it, and it's 39,000 people coming.
That's a lot to organize.
So yeah, my work is suffering a little bit on it.
Uh-huh.
So last week it was yeah, I missed this episode
Hmm.
because at once the organizer of the event called. He needed a reunion with security and with Secours, and so I had to go there. I had no choice.
Hmm. Yep.
And so
Yep.
that starts on Thursday, Thursday afternoon,
Uh-huh.
just at late in the morning, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So that's why next week I will not be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the
It
week
sounds like a
after
lot of
it should
fun.
be. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, otherwise, I would not be doing it. It's as a volunteer
Uh-huh.
that I do it. But it takes the preparation of the big things take a lot of time. We also do just small things where there's, for example, a sports event. Uh, they go running for 60 kilometers in the mountains.
Hmm.
Crazy things. Uh,
Yeah.
but so
Yeah. I could
but
definitely
so
not do 60K. Certainly not in the mountains.
no. 2 weeks ago there was a swim run where they did more than 60 kilometers running and swimming, and 18 times they switched in between,
Oh goodness.
and it was not flat the running. In total, it was 2,500 meters going up
Oh,
cumulative, because
wow.
it goes up, down, up, down, up, down. Yeah, and
Yeah.
sometimes sometimes it's incredible, and then you get people who are barely alive when they arrive.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. I'm getting tired just thinking about it.
I,
Yeah.
I like I like to be in the ambulance to help them, but not not to participate in the
Hmm.
event. Um,
Yeah. I've done a 5K a couple of times,
mm,
but yeah. I need to get back to my 5K shape, but that's as far as I go.
yeah, I should do a little bit more sport as well, but okay.
Yeah,
Ah,
although
yeah.
I prefer to, instead of 5K, I call it Pai Mai because 5 kilometers is about 3.14 miles.
Okay.
So I do have Pai Mai.
3.14, yeah, pi my. Yeah. But in general, the 5 kilometers, you have a lot more victims on a 5 kilometer than on a 60 kilometer run. Uh,
Hmm.
And
I could imagine why you don't have to prepare quite as much for for a 5K.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and
Uh,
you get amateurs like me.
no, but where I live here is a place where a lot of people come on holiday. So especially in summertime, there are a few of these competitions, 5, 10 kilometer,
Hmm.
and then people are not uh, accustomed to the temperature, and they say, "Oh, 5 or 10 kilometer, we can do it."
Hmm.
Yeah, but if you do it in competition, if you do it with 1,000 people at the same time,
Hmm.
and it's very warm, then it gets different. But there is nobody who starts a trial of 60 kilometers without being prepared. So often you see 60 kilometers, you have almost nobody who needs help. And on a 5 or 10 kilometers, you don't know who to take care first
Hmm.
because they, they come in all at the same time.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, especially if it's a little bit hot.
Hmm.
But okay,
Yeah, like it is now.
it's quite hot, but with the airco, it's getting better. Yeah, but it's a lot of fun with a lot of people. We are a big team to do that, so that's very different from computer work.
Yes.
I'm just sitting alone in my office. Uh,
Hmm.
but
Yeah, and the computer responds immediately to the things you asked, as opposed to, well, let me go ahead and send this email to this vendor, and I'm not sure when they're going to get back, if they're going to get back. Yeah.
yeah, you have to resend and resend
Hmm.
and and play politics, and it's a completely different world. But computer helps a lot in it as well. If you know a little bit,
Yeah.
uh, it helps organizing things. Okay,
So
but
true.
I saw that you put somewhere a message. I don't know where I read it. That you have a demonstration or a class teaching about the .NET environment beginning of August.
Yes.
So we have to finish it by
We
that
have to
time.
finish it by then.
Yeah,
I've put a stake in the ground.
that's a good thing because
Yep.
that will force me to do that. What was it I was supposed to work on the compose of the SQL queries?
Yes. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Just take these objects, stitch them together. Actually, the stitch
yeah.
together part is there. Just you get the right result sets and call that thing. Yeah.
So the result set we got already, if I am not mistaken, if I remember
Hmm.
well. But I still have to stitch them together.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like we're really close.
Mhm.
Because yeah, that function exists. Is just not tested because you know
Mhm.
uh, I could have simulated result sets and then done the test driven development. But in this case, I decided, we're really close to being able to have the actual result sets, do the actual test with the database. We'll
Mhm.
just let it go from there. And it is a port of the JavaScript code, so
Mhm.
I have confidence that we'll.
It's with a sample program, the one you used a long time ago. I don't remember what it was exactly. It was a oh,
Um,
one that you used for demonstration as well.
yeah, uh, the sample that I liked to use before was the shared list
Right,
examples, uh,
that was it.
and yeah, that one actually is in need of update. So yeah,
Mhm.
I went back. Actually, I think I was using. Yeah, I was trying to use shared list for last week's demo, and then when I pulled it up, um, yeah, it was too far away from where I needed it to be, and then I pulled up the starter kit
Mhm.
and found that um, since that had done so little beyond just set up the client server, there was less I had to do to get that caught up. So I did the demo with the starter kit, but yeah, I do intend to go back to shared list and get that up to date with the new the new specification syntax, add some
Mm.
distribution rules, authorization rules to that, get that fully implemented, and then of course go back to
Okay.
the starter kit and get that up to date.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, that would be nice. That demonstration that you will be giving, it will be something online or it's something local?
oh yes, so the demonstration is part of Improving You. Um, so for those that
Oh,
don't recall, we've talked about Improving You a few times here because the first Janaga application was the Improving You app. Um, that has since been retired, and we're now using something that's more integrated and brings all of Improving's programs together. But Improving You is a way for improvers, people who work at Improving, like me, to teach other improvers things that they've learned. And
mm,
so I've been using Improving You as a platform for getting more people interested in historical modeling. Did a book study, did a historical modeling workshop, um,
mm,
uh, and uh, and so this next Improving You coming up is using, first of all, polyglot notebooks and Janaga.net
mm.
in order to build a model and view that model, interact with it, and then even um, go up to the replicator as a service, create a replicator, and then hook that model up to the replicator. So all
Okay.
that's possible just within polyglot notebooks. Um,
Mhm.
and then we'll do a second session where we bring in Maui is the intent,
Yeah.
and we'll take that model that we analyzed and built in Polyglot notebooks, stick that into the Maui app, and then uh, you know, tie that to the user interface, build an app that then we can put on our phones and show to our friends and family, and it's connecting to that replicator in the cloud.
Okay. But so it will be a local session, but the video of it will be available on the Improving You website afterwards.
The video is just going to be available to other improvers, so we do all improving use internally. Um, so uh,
A lot of them are available online, no?
uh, that is another program from improving that's called Improving Talks, and
Ah,
uh,
okay.
and so so there every Wednesday. We've got somebody who's doing a presentation
Mm,
about technology or about process or leadership, or we recently had one from the CEO, Curtis Height. That was a really good one to
mm,
check out. And the one that we just had last week was from my collaborator on the IBP program, where I've been traveling to Mexico, um, and she did a basically bringing in this, kind of comparing um, stories, user stories to the stake. How well done do you want it to be? So that's a
mm,
pretty good one too. So yeah, all sorts of those improving talks, and I've got a couple of improving talks in that series. One on microservices,
mm.
and one on mass transit, um,
Yeah.
and then going back further, I think I even snuck one in there that's specifically about historical modeling.
No,
Because
but that ones I've seen on the website, but I didn't know there were secret internal
yes,
sessions as well.
yes, yeah, these internal sessions are
Okay.
much more relaxed.
Mm,
They tend to be more conversation based, more workshop based. I run them as workshops. Other people, if it's just so yeah, the conversation, um, like one of my collaborators, Tim Dickey, he's he's active on LinkedIn. So if you go to LinkedIn, you'll see
mm,
he's like posting every day, uh, and so he did a multi-part improving you, like 4 weeks in a row, where he went over his LinkedIn process, and so that was
mm,
a conversation with a little bit of homework between. So it's like, hey,
mm.
we put together a post, and then come back next week and let's talk about how our posts did and all that stuff. So that's
It really upgrades everybody in
mhm.
areas which are not necessarily your focus,
Yeah,
but which are things which can be useful.
yeah, yeah, exactly. and my hope is that I will get a few people interested in playing with Janaga.net and building some apps, trying it out. But even if they don't get interested in it, they've learned about polyglot notebooks. They can use those, but then they can also use Janaga.net just as an analysis tool. Because the way that you can use it in the polyglot notebooks is generate the diagrams, create some example scenarios. Um, so so yeah, I foresee one day that we'll actually be writing polyglot notebooks as part of our discovery process, and then giving those back to the the client and business analysts in order to validate that we've understood and captured the problem.
Mm.
So then, if they just take that analysis and then move forward with SQL Server um, and just
Mm.
ASP.NET, just regular stuff, then they still have gained some insight from
Mm.
immutability.
But once they are that far, the step to using Jinaga is very small.
Yep, yep, I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Because the model is made,
Mm-hmm.
um, the replicator exists,
Mm-hmm.
all the underlying framework is done. So
Yeah, yeah. So why wouldn't you? Let me take away
yeah,
the objections that you might have.
mm,
So
yeah,
objection number one: oh, I've got all this stuff I need to set up. Nope. Just go over here, create one, pop
mm,
that URL in. You're done. Objection number two might be the opposite. Okay, now
mm,
I'm tied into that particular cloud. Nope. We've got this Docker container. You can just spin up an instance and put
mm,
it into your own cloud. Um,
mm,
so yeah, it's just knock down all those objections, and then it'll be like, okay, you've already done this analysis, you've seen the benefits, and now do you want to do this yourself, or do you want to really take advantage of all the math that I've already done?
I
And
suggest them use what has been done.
exactly,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So that's going
great,
to be good. Oh,
great.
but yeah, I
Mm,
did agree to kind of do a preview of this improving you class. In fact, I did this as a user group talk last year. I did a talk called immutability or identity immutability and .NET at the time interactive notebooks. But now I'll be doing that with polyglot notebooks name change. I'll be doing that on Wednesday. So that's where
yes.
I just kind of
Mm,
demonstrate polyglot notebooks, talk about immutability for a little bit, and then bring in Janaga.net and show how it works within that framework using those principles. Um, and that one will be recorded. So
okay.
that's a user group session, so it's not going to be quite as interactive as the
Mm,
improving you. The improving you is going to be done in two-hour meetings, so there's going to be homework in between. But
okay.
this one is just an hour and a half, and
And that recording will be on not
yeah,
on improving your website.
correct. Yeah, that is for the North Dallas .NET user group, or I think they call themselves the North Dallas Developer Association now. Actually, I'm getting mixed up with
Mm,
Tulsa. Anyway, but yeah, I'll provide a link to their site, and um, I believe they record all their sessions and then post them on usergroup.tv.
okay, yeah. Well, before I found a lot of sessions there as well
Yeah.
on the technology before Jinaga,
Yes. Yeah.
like
Correspondence.
correspondence.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
great. No, I even didn't watch the session of last week yet.
Mm.
But so you implemented the distribution rules.
Yes. Yes. So
Okay.
last week I demonstrated how the distribution rules work in the starter kit. So just
Mm,
basically, started the starter kit, then bring in the blog model, and then added distribution rules and showed how we got 403 out of the
Mm.
server. So so yeah, this week I have implemented those distribution rules in the Replicator as a service. Not the multi-tenant replicator where now you can upload your own distribution rules. That's still to come. But when you're using the portal, I've got distribution rules in there so that you can't sneakily query somebody else's distributor or replicators and get information about those. So that was step one before I went any further and put put any kind of secrets into the Replicator as a service. Because
You say you can sneak in and get somebody else messages?
yeah, you can. Um, yeah, so let me bring up the Replicator as a service portal.
Because that's just an intermediate state, I hope.
Oh yes, yeah, just an
Viewing.
intermediate state.
Okay.
Yeah, and where is? There we go. Okay. Yep. Okay, so this is
No,
appjanaga.com.
no, I see the Discord screen.
You see Discord? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I see what I did. All right, stop that. Share. Have to click on screens first. There we go. Now you should be seeing
Yeah, that's much
VS
better.
Code. Okay,
Jinaga Replicator as a service management console.
excellent. So, yep, this is a private repo that is just for this is for running currently dev.janaga.com, where you can create your own replicators. And so in here, let's take a look at the model. So we've got a replicator, which just has an identifier that uniquely identifies it, and the user that created the replicator. Then we've got successors for the name and the environment. So you can edit those. And then, yeah, so we've got delete. So that's the kind of the core replicator model. But then when you want to publish the replicator and have it available for people to hit the URL, then you go to this model and you create a request for endpoint. So this is where you say, this replicator right here, I want to have an endpoint on this host, this particular device. So device is very much like user. It's a principal. It's something that has a key pair. So you identify it by its public key. So in fact, we can see right here, device, it comes from Janaga itself. So just like user. So that's a thing with a public key. And so you create this fact saying, all right, I want I want to host this replicator at a URL. And then the device will do the work that it needs to do in order to expose that URL, and it will post an endpoint. So this is an endpoint for a particular request, and it gives you back the URL for that request. So this is a nice way for just within the client-side application for you to just say, hey, create a fact, and then you just have a specification that's watching for these endpoints. You can do a JDOT query and just asynchronously wait for the endpoint to come back, or you could just data bind it to the interface, and then it just shows the endpoint when it's available. So you can do that just from the client side. Meanwhile, it's flowing through the replicator, and it's going back to the multi-tenant Replicator as a service that is updating its database, and in the future, it's going to be adding adding entries to the API gateway. Do some rate limiting and all that stuff. Just set that all up for you on the back end. When it's done, then it publishes this. So it's a nice way for client application and a backend service to communicate. Just great facts. So because of that model, it would be possible, since you know the device to which you need to make this request, it would be possible for you to create a specification starting at that device and look for requests for endpoint. So you could write a specification and just have it running where every time somebody requests an endpoint, then it publishes a message to you. It says, oh, okay, this person requested an endpoint. We only want the backend to be doing that. We don't want anybody else, certainly an attacker, to be able to do that. So once you have this request for endpoints, that means you've got the replicator. That means you know the user. Then you could, furthermore, in the same specification or in another one, now look for all of the replicators for that user, and then just get all of their replicator information. In fact, once you have that, now you could even see all the replicators, even if they haven't published them yet. So you can see, oh, they're working on a replicator with this name for this environment. And then, so the features that I've got coming up very shortly are setting up your Apple authentication. So if this was not protected by distribution rules, that means that once somebody's published a replicator, and now you've got their user's public key, you're searching for all the replicators, and then they set up some authentication with Apple, then all of the secrets that they have exchanged with Apple in order to set that up get added to the model and get pushed right to the attacker. So that clearly is not good. So that is the threat. It's a pretty big threat. And the way that you mitigate that threat is you set up distribution rules. So the distribution rules show up right here. So when we set up
this can be distribution rules which are a permanent part of the replicator.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Just to protect the replicator, it has nothing to do with the user themselves.
Yeah. So this. Okay. So yeah, it's kind of confusing that replicators are the model that we're talking about, but then they're also the technology that does all this stuff. So yeah, these distribution rules are loaded into the replicator that's running the model, and they control what information that replicator will share with whom. Yeah. So this rule, for example, is saying that when somebody asks for all of the replicators for a given user, then this rule controls that request. Mm-hmm. So it says, who am I going to share this with? And then down here, the with portion is saying that I'm going to share this information with this particular user. So we've done given user on both of these. So the starting points match, and so this user is the same as that user. So that means if I am querying for the replicators for a user, then I better be able to prove that I am that user. Yep. So basically, I can only get the replicators for myself. I cannot take somebody else's public key, stick it into that specification, and get their replicators. So furthermore, right here, this not exist replicator deleted, this is a further restriction on the question I can ask, the specification that I can send up to the server. So I can't just ask for all replicators. I have to ask for those that have not been deleted. So this means as soon as I delete a replicator, I can no longer see any new information about it. This also means, this kind of implies, and this is where the math comes in, this implies that I can see the replicator deleted facts. So I have to have not exist replicator deleted, therefore I must be able to see that the replicator has been deleted. Otherwise I would get inconsistent results. So yeah, I'm saying that if somebody asks for all replicators that have been deleted, and then now we've got the select, so that means that we're going down to a projection. And so here I can look for the names. Let's look for all the replicator names where not exists the next joined by prior. Same thing with environments. So when I run this through the feed generator, I come up with 3 different feeds. One feed is for this part that shows me all of the replicators that have not been deleted. The second feed continues on and gives me the replicator names. And then the third feed tacks this on to the end of this. So now any one of those 3 feeds, this rule covers. So if I have any kind of specification that I'm running from the client side, that when I break it apart into different feeds, it's going to match against these particular feeds that I've set up here. And this rule says that if you are that user, then you can run that specification.
Yeah.
So that means that a user can list all of their own replicators.
Unless they are deleted.
Correct, yes.
So there is no undo.
Correct, not yet. Yeah, if I... in fact, I probably will add an undo at some point. But replicator deleted is... not prepared for it. Look at that. Yep, I need to add a date in order to prepare for undo. Good catch. Yeah, let me... get that in here just to... oh, look at there. Good job. Good job. Yeah, so now I've got the date so I can delete, and then I do an undo that undoes that particular replicator deleted. Now that I have the date, I can have multiple deletions for the same replicator. Go back and forth. Okay, so... you know what, that's not going to compile yet. Let me just find where the error is. Because I do have the delete button, and it creates this fact, but it's only sending in one parameter right now. I could make this a default parameter, but I tend not to have default parameters. That is a really good question. It's really just kind of an icky feeling I get when I see default parameters. Yeah, so here's my replicator deleted. New date. And now we should be able to build. Okay, so that'll be a good reminder to me to add the undo capability. Okay, so there we have the distribution rule for listing all of your replicators. And then I have another distribution rule that when you're starting at a replicator, you can select the name and the environment. This one does not have the where not exists deleted because you've already, in this case, navigated down to a replicator from the list. So, so even if like you open up another tab and you delete it from there, you still have this replicator open on this tab, and you can still see the information about it. So I share that information here. Again, it's the same given for the share portion as it is with the with portion. And so I share that information with the user who created the replicator. So in the future, it will be possible to create a group and invite people to the group, and then assign permissions for that replicator to that group. And so then I'll add more distribution rules to capture the fact that I can distribute information about a replicator to all the members of that group, all that stuff. And I might have some members that are read-only members, and so they match the distribution rules. But then a different fact that makes them a read-write or an administrator member, and so then the authorization rules will include those facts, so they could actually update those replicators. So that's how it'll capture all that. And so let's see. Dev.janaga.com. Let's see if we can show all that stuff working. Okay, so sign in with GitHub. Get to my replicators. There, we've got them. And let me go back to network and then refresh that, and we should be able to see we are doing feeds for user and username. Yeah, I still haven't optimized this, where it should, from the client side, notice that these two views are really trying to to get the same feed. So just do that once. But this is the one that is looking for all of the all the replicators for a user. So let me open up Postman. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else hears Billy Squire when they open up Postman. Postman, Postman, Post.
Is that a song or?
Yeah, it's based on Billy Squire has a song called "Stroke Me," and for some reason Postman just fits that lyric in my head. It's also every time I start the stream, I go to YouTube Studio, and of course, I hear Phil Collins. YouTube Studio. Da, 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 da.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but okay. So yeah, we've got. Does this
The
one
only
already
thing
have
that
it?
there is a song of Mr. Postman. Du-du-du-dum,
Yeah, yeah.
du-du-dum. Don't remember who sung it, but
Yep. Now that is what I'm going to hear all the time.
yeah,
Yeah. So here's Replicator as a service. Yeah. Let's go ahead and create it in here. Let's create a new request.
might be something from the Carpenters or something. I don't know.
So I'm going to get all of the feeds for the user. So let's come back to this. Here's the URL that we're posting to. And here is the body. That is raw text. Oops. Okay. All right, so we are trying to get the feeds for that user. Right now, this should fail. Boom, unauthorized, 401.
Okay.
And that's because I am not logged in. So unauthorized, I don't have, it doesn't know what my identity is. This request, since this is all done with a web application, this one uses a cookie. So I'm posting back to the same domain. So cookies make a lot of sense. For people who are using the Replicator as a service, they're going to be posting back to this domain, but their app is going to be hosted on a different domain. So they're going to be using not cookies, but bearer tokens. But for this one, we're using cookies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to capture that cookie. So let me take that domain, go to cookies. Oh, look at there. Yep, we've got that cookie in there. So did I already? I might have already added that one. So let's go ahead and yeah. Ta-da. Okay. Well, just to be sure, because I'm not certain why that even showed up, because it's not in this list. So we're just going to be, oh, cleared the wrong one. Just going to be syncing with devjanaga.com. And so let's just refresh to make sure that we've got it. We can look at the request going back, or we can take a look in application cookies, and we can see there's the connect SSID. It's got a J4DQ in there, and so I can see this doesn't look like the right one. Sync. Okay. Well, let's try that and see if it grabbed the cookie. So now send, and it did not, or at the very least, it's not the right value. Let's go ahead and do this the old-fashioned way. Copy that value. Ah. Okay, can't edit the cookies here. All right. Sync cookies. Start syncing. grab the cookie from here. Make sure that it's turned on this side. So I've got Postman Interceptor. It is... Oh, okay. It was not on this side allowed to access the cookie. Okay.
And where do you have to change them?
Yeah, so in the extensions, so you install this Postman Interceptor extension, and for this kind of extension, configure it to not have access to every site, but instead it shows up in access requested. And then I say, okay, for this site, I will allow you to have access. So yeah, now it's got access, and it should be communicating with Postman, and it should be able to intercept the cookie. Yeah, let me just clear the cookies so we can see what's happening. Refresh. dev.janaga.com. Yeah, I'm not certain why it is not intercepting that cookie. dev.janaga.com. Sub.domain.com, yeah. Okay. Well, okay, manage cookies, add cookie. The value is this, and the name is connect SID. SID. Okay. Let's just see if that is enough. All right. Okay, good. Okay. So now it knows who we are. It knows that this actually is our Janaga user, and so it has given back all of these feeds. And it says, okay, you can access these feeds to pull facts. Those will be facts about the replicator and replicator deleted. It'll also be facts about environment and environment next with based on prior, and then name and name next based on prior. So you should have 6 total feeds. So if I were a different user, and rather than grab an actual user by logging in differently, I'll just change one little bit of the hash. Then it would say, bloop, cannot distribute to 403 forbidden. So it even shows me the feed that it can't distribute to. So that gives me a little bit of assistance when debugging things. It says the user does not match U1 equal P1, that particular user. And the same reason cannot distribute to all of the other feeds. So that protects you, that protects your feeds or your replicators from an attacker that gets your public key and tries to write that query. Furthermore, the there we go, back to this model. The attacker should not be able to get all of the feeds to from the publish requests. So let's talk about where that information is. In fact, I think if I go to sources, we should see, here's appjanaga.com source. Let's see, replicator host. Okay, yeah, this is it right here. So constants.js. So you make that request against the server, and it's going to give you back the base URL. So everything gets posted to repdev.janaga.com, but also the replicator host. So that is a device that that when we create a request, let's go back to host. When we request for endpoint, that's the host that we send here. So that means that I should not be able to do this. Let's add another request. This is requests for endpoint. So the body for this will be let the host be one of these. Now the type goes here, and then that is the public key. All right, so now let's post that to the feeds endpoint. And just checking my syntax here. Expected, yeah, so now it's looking for the specification. So host janaga.device. So given that, I want to find all of the requests for endpoint. Such that request host is equal to that host. Okay, so if I could do that, then I would be able to scrape a whole bunch of user identities. I've already locked that down so that I can't use those user identities, but I shouldn't be able to do this either. And so, boom, cannot distribute to this. There are no rules that apply to that feed. Forbidden. And so that's because I haven't made it a distribution rule. I'm not distributing that information. I am posting it upstream. So once it gets in, then this replicator is sending all the information upstream, and then that upstream replicator, that would have the distribution rule that protects that core information. It says, okay, I can distribute this request for endpoint to that particular device. That's the backend service. And I can distribute to a device because it's a principal. It has a public key.
Yeah. So it's well protected now.
Yes. Yes, and now that it's got some protection around it, I feel comfortable implementing the next step and actually collecting some Apple secrets. So that's what I'm working
Michael.
on now.
I just tried on my side to create another replicator.
Uh-huh.
And I have two replicators in the same environment with the same name.
Yes, yeah,
Is that normal?
There is no constraint right now to prevent you from doing that. That's something that I could do as a convenience, but I could not make that a hard and fast rule in the.
Because I thought the identifier for a replicator was the user and the replicator's name, no?
No, it is the user and a GUID essentially. So. So yeah, when you create a replicator, it creates this brand new ID because you can change the name.
yeah. Okay, the name was just one of the properties, one of the predecessors,
Yeah.
one of the successors.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. One of the
Ah,
successors, so you can change it. Yes. Yeah. So I could make that a convenience for the user. Like, okay, you're creating a replicator. I've got the list of replicators that you've already created, and I see that you're using the same name and environment. And so I could add a
mhm,
validation check in there, but that would not be a hard and fast strict validation check because it's possible for you to open up another tab, create the same replicator on both tabs, uh, and hit go.
mhm,
Um, you couldn't do that with one tab because creating a new replicator, even before you enter a name or an environment, generates the GUID. So if you were to hit submit twice before it's able to refresh the screen, then it would still only create one replicator.
mhm. The only problem, if you have two with the same name and you want to delete one,
Mm-hmm.
now at that moment it gives you the URL. So perhaps if you registered that one, but uh, you have to be careful.
Yeah, yeah. So without that validation check, the way that I would do that as an end user would just be
Mm,
let me go in and rename one, and then I can take a look at all of its settings. Um, I could even take that URL, go into the read
mm,
endpoint, and look at the data that's in there, and say, okay, I'm absolutely certain this is the one that I want to delete, and I've already changed the name, so now I can tell them apart. Um,
because you ask to delete, enter the name,
yeah.
but if the name is two times the same, it's not really ah, strange. I enter the name, it doesn't want to listen to me.
Hmm.
Um, test 3. Yeah, everything is test, of course. So I say delete. Type the name of the application to the confirm delete. All data not shared with another replicator will be lost. So I type in test 3. And the button delete is still grayed out.
Um,
Hmm,
I wonder if I actually also validate against the environment. So put space parentheses.
perhaps, yeah, def.
Yeah.
And now it works.
Okay. Yeah. So I need
Yep.
to make the instructions a bit more clear.
Mhm. Yeah. So you should put test space, namespace environment in between brackets.
Yeah.
Okay. And he deleted only one of the test 3 replicators. All right, that's working fine. But if I go to docs, he gets me to the same screen again. He opens another window.
Mm-hmm. Ah.
Uh,
Yeah. That's right.
it
Yeah.
does.
That's.
It doesn't get me to the website, to the jinaga.com website.
Mm-hmm.
Gets me to exactly the same replicator screen.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's a feature that I brought in from the template that I started with, but yeah, never implemented that feature. So yeah, I need to just change that URL to go to
Mm.
the docs page. Yeah. And probably open that in another tab because you probably want to have the docs side by side
Mm.
um, with the portal. So yeah,
Okay.
that is distribution rules and how they protect you.
Yeah. That's a nice progress.
Yes, indeed. Yeah,
So,
a lot of technologies like I'm thinking about like GraphQL. Yeah, it's like okay, you're taking your database and you're putting it on an endpoint. People get all upset and say, well, you've got these additional rules that you put into that endpoint to talk about security. Um, so yeah, this is just the equivalent of that, so that you can actually take your replicator, which is a database, and you can put it on the internet.
mm, and it's still the way you look at it. It's still easy to use. It doesn't make it more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the right way to go. Okay, then I have
Okay.
to to start after Sunday. I have to start with the compose. Um, I will be there with very small eyes, probably, but it will be okay.
Yeah.
It's not this Sunday; it's the Sunday afterwards,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it starts next Thursday.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that. That
Yeah,
should be a lot of fun.
it will be, it will be. But the dilemma is always, the other stuff like Jinaga,
Mm-hmm.
because the time that I still have, then if there is something urgent for my customers, of course I have to attend first.
Yep.
But all the rest that is not urgent, which is not true, because Jinaga is urgent.
Yes.
But
Well, if we get to the Improving You class and they cannot create a local database on their Maui application, all is not lost. They've still learned quite a lot. It would just be that much, that much extra,
Michael,
joy.
don't take away that pressure from me.
I mean,
Sometimes
it would really disappoint people, but they
yeah,
would still get something out of the course.
but sometimes I need a little bit of pressure to to perform. No, if there is some pressure behind it, sometimes it goes better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, actually, it's a matter of priorities.
Yeah.
Uh, then I do that, but then another thing gets behind. Yeah, life is too short. 24 hours a day is not enough.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Very true. All right.
So many nice things to do. Uh,
Yeah. And
okay,
so
Michael.
while you're
So
off having those adventures, next week
yeah,
I will show the progress that I'm making on setting up authentication with Apple through the Replicator as a
okay.
service. So, hey, maybe it'll actually be completely working by then. I don't know, but making good progress.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't have Apple and or iPhone or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, so that's something I'm not going to use immediately.
Yeah. Well, Google's the very next one, so
Yeah.
we'll set that up for Android phones.
But anyway, my application has to work on iPhones as well, so
Yeah.
I will still need it. Okay, Michael, thank you very much. See you in 2 weeks' time then.
Indeed. See you then.
Okay.
Right.
See you. Bye bye.